Have you ever stopped to think why the world's biggest cities or ancient civilizations are located exactly where they are? It's not random. The answer lies in physical geography, the study of the Earth's natural features, things like mountains, rivers, and climate. These features are the blueprint for human settlement, dictating whether a place can sustain a small village or a bustling metropolis. We're going to explore this fundamental connection today. Essentially, the Earth throws out the challenges, and human history is a story of how we've met those challenges, sometimes with brilliant success and sometimes not. Think of the difference between trying to build a city in the middle of the Rocky Mountains versus on the vast, flat Great Plains. Mountains are tough. They block movement, make farming hard, and isolate communities. That's why you see lower population densities there. But the flat plains? They are perfect. They offer huge stretches of land for growing food, especially grain, and make it easy to build roads and railroads for transportation. The difference between a mountain and a plain is the difference between a small, isolated village and a massive agricultural empire. If you look at a map of early civilizations, you'll see a trend. They all started next to water. Why? Because water, especially fresh water from rivers, is life. It provides drinking water, and crucially, a way to irrigate crops so you can grow more food than you need. A food surplus that allows people to become builders, thinkers, and rulers instead of just farmers. Rivers also serve as natural highways for trade. Even today, coastal cities have a huge advantage because they can trade globally via the ocean. Water isn't just a resource, it's a geographic path to prosperity. Imagine trying to farm in a place where it snows 9 months out of the year, or where it hasn't rained in a decade. That's the power of climate. It's the long-term patterns of temperature and precipitation that ultimately determine the carrying capacity of an area. Most of the world's biggest populations live in temperate zones, places with mild seasons and reliable rainfall, because that climate is best suited for growing a variety of staple crops. Conversely, extreme climates, like deserts or the Arctic tundra, can only support very small, specialized populations who have mastered the art of survival in harsh conditions. You can have a great climate, but if the dirt is just sand or rock, you're not going to feed many people. Soil quality is a huge factor. The most fertile soil is often found in river deltas, where the river deposits nutrient-rich silt, or near volcanic areas. Think of the rich black soil you find in places like the American Midwest, or the river valleys of India and China. That fertile soil is a non-renewable resource that allowed early farmers to feed large populations, directly leading to the development of complex societies. No good soil, no big cities. Before concrete, steel, and oil, settlements needed basic resources like timber for building, clay for pottery, and metals for tools. A settlement located near a vein of copper or iron ore, or a dense forest, had a massive advantage over one that didn't. In the modern era, this focus shifted to fuel resources like coal and oil, leading to the rapid growth of industrial centers near these deposits. The physical geography of resources is the foundation of economic geography. It dictates who gets rich and who has the power to build. Ancient Egypt is the perfect example of geography creating civilization. The Nile River was more than a river. It was a perfect system. Every year it would flood, not violently, but predictably, depositing a fresh layer of incredibly rich dark soil. This guaranteed annual harvest led to a massive, reliable food surplus. Because they had so much food, the Egyptians could focus on building pyramids, developing writing, and establishing a powerful, unified government. The Nile wasn't just near the civilization, it was the civilization. Now let's look at a completely different environment, the Andes Mountains and the Inca Empire. Instead of settling on a nice flat riverbank, the Inca learned to master a formidable mountain range. They created ingenious terraced farms on steep slopes, essentially building flat land where there was none. To connect their dispersed settlements, they built thousands of miles of roads through the rugged peaks. The geography was a challenge, but their adaptation resulted in a protected, unique empire. They didn't settle where it was easy. They settled where their mastery of the environment allowed them to. Sometimes, geography is the best defense. Think of an island nation like Great Britain, protected by the rough waters of the English Channel, or ancient Rome, which was well defended by the Alps. Geographic barriers like vast oceans, deserts, or impenetrable mountain ranges can isolate a civilization, which slows down the spread of technology and ideas, but also provides a vital layer of protection from invaders. This isolation can allow a culture to develop uniquely for hundreds or even thousands of years. On the flip side, some geographic features act as magnets for human interaction. These are geographic corridors, easy paths of travel. River valleys and mountain passes are classic examples. The most famous example is the Silk Road, a network of trade routes that utilized natural gaps and plains to connect east and west. These corridors are where goods, ideas, religions, and people all mix. Wherever there is an easy path, human interaction and trade will follow, leading to cultural exchange and often great wealth. When people encounter a new environment, they have two main choices. They can adapt, meaning they adjust their lifestyle to fit the environment, like an Inuit community building an igloo for shelter. Or they can modify, meaning they change the environment to suit their needs, like cutting down a forest for farmland or building a huge dam to control a river. As human technology has advanced, we've become much better at modification, but there are long-term consequences, as we'll see with sustainability. Look at a map of a river in a flat area, and you'll likely see houses and towns strung out along the river's edge. This is a linear settlement pattern, directly determined by the geography of the river. Conversely, settlements might cluster tightly around a vital resource, like a fresh water spring or a crossroads, forming a dense, centered community. The physical environment acts like a mold, shaping the very structure and layout of the towns we build. When geographers talk about a town's location, they use two terms. Site refers to the specific, local physical characteristics. Is it on a defensible hill? Is there a good spot to build a harbor? Situation is the bigger picture. Where is it in relation to other places? Does it sit at the junction of two major trade rivers? A successful settlement often has a great site for defense or resources and a fantastic situation for trade and connection. Think of London, a good site on a navigable river and a perfect situation for Atlantic trade. The same geographic features that offer benefits can also bring risk. Settling on a fertile river delta is great for farming, but it makes you vulnerable to floods. Building near a fault line gives you access to mineral-rich areas, but exposes you to earthquakes. Human communities have always had to balance the benefits of a location against the inevitable natural hazards it poses. Part of studying geography is understanding the risks inherent in where we choose to build our homes. Imagine a small island with a fixed amount of fresh water and farmable land. The carrying capacity is the absolute maximum number of people that island can sustainably support without running out of resources. Every geographic region has a carrying capacity determined by its resources. When human populations exceed this number, it leads to environmental stress, water shortages, poor soil, and loss of wildlife. It's a critical concept in sustainability and planning for the future. For most of history, physical geography was destiny. But then technology changed the game. The invention of the steam engine and the construction of railroads allowed settlers to cross massive mountain ranges and plains. Modern irrigation turned arid deserts into productive farmland. While we can never truly escape the influence of geography, technology has given us tools to mitigate its challenges and settle in places that would have been impossible just a couple of centuries ago. If you look at where the world's biggest cities are, they often developed at a break of bulk point. This is a spot where goods must be transferred from one type of transportation to another. For example, where a river ends and an ocean port begins, or where a major railroad meets a trucking hub. Cities like New York, Shanghai, and Chicago all owe their size and success to a geographic location that made them the most efficient place to collect and redistribute goods. Geography often draws the lines on the political map. A high, rugged mountain range or a wide, deep river is a clear, physical, and often defensible dividing line. These features become natural political boundaries. While this can simplify things, it can also create tension, especially when a resource like a river is shared. Water rights and border disputes often highlight the conflict that arises when human political lines intersect with natural geographic features. As we become more aware of our global impact, the concept of sustainable development becomes tied to geography. We need to stop fighting the local environment and start working with it. This means building our cities to withstand local hazards, using renewable energy like solar and wind where the climate supports it, and farming in a way that protects the soil. Sustainable practices are essentially a highly intelligent form of adaptation, ensuring that the resources we use today are still available for future generations. So, as you can see, physical geography is not just about memorizing mountain names. It's the foundation of human history. It determined where the first farmers settled, where the great empires rose, and where modern cities thrive. Humans have constantly balanced adapting to the natural world with modifying it. Understanding this dynamic relationship, how the land shapes us and how we shape the land, is absolutely essential for interpreting the past and intelligently planning for our collective future.